What's up, Raider Nation? Welcome to another True Raider podcast. This is a Taco-Bout Raiders Tuesday live. I'm very pumped about what's going on right now with our team, with the preseason. We got to see a little bit of live action with the Vikings game. I did a live stream for that. We did the watch party, and I really haven't put out anything since then. And so I wanted to come on here and kind of talk about some of the things that are going on. So, breaking news: the Las Vegas Raiders sign veteran quarterback, the GOAT, Nathan Peterson. Now, this signing, Keelan Doss got released due to injury, and then we picked up Nathan Peterman. Basically, this is the Brian Hoyer of Luke Getsy's offense, right? Just like how Josh McDaniels brought over Brian Hoyer because he's a veteran quarterback that already knows the system, and so he brought Brian Hoyer in to help implement that. Luke Getsy went ahead and brought Nathan Peterman in. He's been with the Bears for the last couple of years. He is a former Las Vegas Raider, but he brought him in to help kind of install this offense. Now, I don't know how much of this has to do with the fact that, Anthony Brown Jr. just looked awful in this preseason game, right? And I know a lot of it had to do with what was going on with the offensive line, but also he just did not look great, And so it might be that they're looking to have Nathan Peterman be a camp body. It could be that they're looking to put him as that QB3 spot. Honestly, I don't really know. What I do know is that Nathan has not gotten a lot of play in the NFL, but he has a lot of interceptions, right? So shout out to Nathan Peterman, man. Anthony, what's going on, man? Yo, what's up? Salute. Glad you're here. Oh, also, real quick, wanted to make a shout out, right? I am not sponsored by them, but I wanted to shout out to Dixon Flannels. This is the Nation collab. It's got the shield on the inside. Definitely shout out to Dixon Flannels, man. I love the quality of the shirts. Again, I'm not sponsored by them, but they have a couple of collabs. They have the Nation, and then they have the Allegiant. That's the one I wore last week. Definite shout out to Dixon Flannels, man. So yeah, there's a couple of things I wanted to talk about, man. On the thumbnail, we have Jack Jones picking off that vanilla, right? And I made that this morning. And then I scheduled the live, and then the news came out where JJ McCarthy, man. Oops, I showed the wrong one. I'll just click on it. So JJ McCarthy to undergo surgery on a torn meniscus in his right knee. So it turns out that during the game, preseason game on Saturday against the Raiders, JJ McCarthy tore the meniscus in his right knee. So the procedure will determine how much time McCarthy will miss. And I know this isn't really Raiders news, right? But like, I see a lot of people out there, talking a lot of trash on social media. Like, oh, how is that, defense vanilla, da da da. How is that knee feeling? And really, we don't ever want to see a player in the NFL go down with injury, man. Like this is these guys' careers. This is their lives that are on the line, and an injury like this is probably going to sit him for his whole first, season. So it looks like it's going to be the Sam Darnold show there in Minnesota. But also, there's other things that can come from it, man. His career could suffer from this. He might end up in a position where this injury ends up being a lingering problem for him, and we don't want to see that kind of stuff, right? So, shout out to JJ McCarthy, man. I hope he has a good recovery. And that is what it is, man. I don't think that there was any kind of hit job, or I don't think anybody hit him on purpose because of the comments that he made. It was just what it was. Yo, that's up in Nation Flannel. If you want to go out to the Raider Nation night party night before the game and you don't want to wear a jersey, there you go. Black Raider fitted. Yeah, exactly, bro. That's what's up. There we go. But yeah, man. I mean, there's injuries that can affect players, right? Um, that can linger with them a lot. It came out today that Jackson Powers Johnson. Um, hold up, I didn't bring this up, but I'm gonna pull it up right now. Jackson Powers Johnson uh, is injured, right? And he's out. He's been on the pup list, and it actually came out today. And I'm gonna see if I can pull it up real quick. I don't know if I'm gonna actually find it because they're talking about the return timeline. And Jackson Powers Johnson not only has a shoulder injury, but he has a couple of other injuries as well. And one of those is that he's dealing with a concussion. And Raider Deb was on here the other day saying that she had some worries about that. Um, Jackson Powers Johnson had a history of concussions in college, and right now what we're looking at is that he's dealing with concussion right now. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and pull up this article real quick and share it on the screen because this is concerning to me. It really is. We talked about it that maybe there was a reason why he fell in the draft. See what was going on with that. So all right, Raiders give return timeline for Jackson Powers Johnson and Colton Miller. So Las Vegas Raiders have been without two of their offensive linemen for a while now, as both left tackle Colton Miller and guard Jackson Powers Johnson have missed significant time this offseason. Miller is recovering from off-season shoulder surgery, while Powers Johnson sustained a shoulder injury during an off-season program that hasn't returned to full practice since. Both are currently on the active, physically unable to perform list. But it appears they are nearing their return. Head coach Antonio Pierce said Sunday that Miller and Powers Johnson may return following the team's preseason Week 2 contest against the Dallas Cowboys on Saturday, according to Sean Reed of The Athletic, who notes that JPJ is dealing with a concussion. See, and here's the tweet here where it says, Pierce said he's hopeful to get guard Jackson Powers Johnson, concussion, and offensive tackle Colton Miller, shoulder, back next week after the second preseason game. It's not a guarantee, though. Both players are on the pup list, right? So that's concerning, right? That they're talking about that, that there's concern about a concussion with Jackson Powers Johnson right now. Because that's one of those things like they're really concerned about Tua on the Dolphins, right? With his concussions and sustaining multiple concussions in a row. And then there's the fear that this might be something that happens with him. And I'm really worried that the way that Jackson Powers Johnson plays, he's physical, he's tough, he's hitting people, right? And if he's taking hits to the head on a regular basis, right, as an offensive lineman, and he already has an issue with concussions, it makes him more susceptible to future concussions, which can really put it in a position where, like your best ability is your availability, right? And if he's not available, if he's not being able to play all 17 games, then we got a problem there. And so I think that that's part of why he fell in the draft to the second round, because it was really a shocker that he was even there. And there was speculation, it was the run on quarterbacks and this and that. And really, I have a feeling it has something to do with them concussions. Yo, man. Peterman, we were just talking about that. Peterman is coming back. I think that he's going to be kind of a camp body, and possibly they might be looking at put him in that QB3. They didn't even let Carter Bradley throw the ball at all in that preseason game, and Anthony Brown looked horrible, right? Super horrible. So they might be thinking that Peterman might be a good option at that QB3. But I think that he's the Brian Hoyer of this offense, where he's the vet that already knows the offense. He's been with it a couple years and with the Bears. And so they brought him over to help install the offense, man. Yeah, and prayers out to JJ McCarthy. Don't wish injury on nobody. He is only a kid. I hope he recovers quickly, man. Oh, is that what it is with JPJ? Last week I was talking about NFL rule changes. Can't tackle by the legs anymore. We were saying, sure, a leg injury would really suck, but head injuries could change your entire life. And like while leg injuries can change your entire life, um, at least if you can't use your legs, you can still use your head, right? But if you can't use your head, then all of a sudden you're in a way worse predicament, man. California Dave, what's going on? Um, yeah, hopefully he wore that extra dome on his helmet. And there was some speculation that they might start having guys wear those during games, and it would be really interesting to see if Jackson Powers Johnson ends up being one of the first guys to end up doing that. I don't like how it looks. I don't think anybody likes how it looks, but I don't think it's really about how it looks, right? I think more it's about what's the functionality, what's the purpose of it? Is it saving a guy's career? Is it potentially saving a guy's life? Uh, keeping him from ending up with CTE and things like that. Because I mean, we all see the Antonio Brown stuff and all the things that can happen from Chandler Jones, and it can really affect a person's life significantly. And so I would really hate to see a young guy like Jackson Powers Johnson end up with you know some serious brain injury kind of stuff going on, man. So I really hope that it's more of a precaution than an actual fear. But we're not really going to know that for a while, and they might not ever share that news with us fully. So we'll see how that goes, man. I'm looking forward to the return of Jackson Powers Johnson and Colton Miller both. Obviously our offensive line, if you watch this preseason game against the Vikings, it suffered. It suffered on that left side. We had Cody Whitehair and we had Andres Pete, and they were getting beat, man. There was like the big thing that people were saying that bad about Aiden O'Connell was that he took that sack on third down in the red zone, and they ended up kicking a field goal. And part of it was on Aiden O'Connell, right? But I saw a tape breakdown where it shows how Andres Pete got beat, and he got beat fast, right? Now it was a three-step drop, and Aiden O'Connell should have been able to get the ball off like right before he got hit. But there was some kind of confusion on the route, man. I think somebody, either Trey Tucker or Brock Bowers, ran the wrong route, and both of them ended up in the same spot. And you could see that O'Connell was going to throw, and there was nothing. And so he started kind of stepping back a little bit to, extend the play, and he got hit right there, right? And I don't think that has to do with his athleticism as much as a lot of it goes on Luke Getsy and those receivers for not realizing that they were going into the same spot and making an on-the-spot adjustment. And then also on that left side of the line, Andres Pete, if we would have had Colton Miller out there, Aiden O'Connell's not taking a sack there because I don't think he was going to get beat on that play. See, I've seen someone in the preseason wearing one reminded me of Don Beebe. Who did you see wearing that, man? I haven't seen that. I'm interested to check that out. So yeah, we get that left side of the line really shored up, and all of a sudden it's going to change what it looks like for these quarterbacks, because a lot of what I saw in the quarterback play, I liked how both Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell played. Both of them had highlights. Both of them made mistakes, but overall, both of them looked really. I thought that they looked pretty good, right? Aiden O'Connell looked very poised. He looked confident in the pocket. I liked that his mobility within the pocket, like moving up and down and stuff. Like you could see that he was, kind of bouncing around a little bit quicker, and he just had this confidence to him, man. That was like I really liked what I saw. And then Gardner Minshew, of course, he can scramble around and extend plays. I would like to see Aiden O'Connell be able to land some throws on the run, like how he did in Purdue. There was one where he rolled out to the right and he threw on the run, and he should have been able to complete that pass, but he just, like, while running and trying to make that throw, it just didn't come out right, and so it fell short of Trey Tucker. And then Gardner Minshew, man, I'd like to see him not bail on the pocket so soon. There was one play where, if he had just stepped up and kind of stayed in the pocket, then he could have made a good throw. But instead, he tried to bail on the pocket too soon, and he put himself in danger. And all of a sudden, he was pressured. He had to throw it away. And so both these quarterbacks struggle on opposite ends of it, right? Aiden O'Connell needs to learn how to extend the play a little bit better, right? Gardner Minshew needs to learn how to stay in the pocket a little bit better. Um, Gardner Minshew was 6 for 12, and he had 3 drives. And then Aiden O'Connell, being 7 for 9 and only having that one drive, I would like to have been able to see more time with both of them. But you got to rotate them in preseason. We got to get everybody their reps and stuff. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with this game against the Cowboys on Saturday, because Gardner Minshew's going to be the guy to start. That's how Antonio Pierce said it was going to kind of shake out. Whoever started this game, the opposite quarterback was going to start the next one, right? And so we'll have Gardner Minshew come out with the first team reps in the first quarter, and then Aiden O'Connell will come in, and I'm interested to see what that dynamic looks like, right? What we really see from them. See, I could understand through these rule changes trying to keep these players safe as possible, sort of going to full flag route. It keeps bringing back the DeMar Hamlin injury. That was honestly, yeah, man. I think it was a Bills player. I'm gonna have to check that out. With the wild ass hair like yours, huh? And saying a normal hit, but just planting to the ground, just so bizarre. Yeah, man. So like, there's another thing I wanted to bring up, man. Let me see if I can find it real quick. And it's talking about the practice for tomorrow, right? Let me see. There it is. So tomorrow's practice at Allegiant Stadium. So it says Raiders Wednesday practice set to draw massive crowd. After the preseason kicked off, excitement around the NFL has been growing. As we inch closer to the beginning to the 2024 NFL season, apparently some of that excitement has been growing in Las Vegas. The Las Vegas Raiders took the field for the first time last weekend, playing in a road game against the Minnesota Vikings. The Las Vegas Raiders lost that game in heartbreaking fashion, as heartbreaking as a preseason loss could be, but there were some encouraging things Raiders fans could take away from it. Now, the Raiders will head back home and prepare for their second preseason matchup, where they'll host the Dallas Cowboys. In preparation for that, they'll be having some practices at Allegiant Stadium over the next week. According to one Raiders reporter, their practice on Wednesday is set to draw a massive crowd. This is Vincent Bonsignor, and he said, based on the online response for tickets, the Raiders' open practice at Allegiant Stadium on Wednesday could draw 40,000 plus fans. So the official capacity of Allegiant Stadium is 65,000. So if the Raiders manage to bring in 40,000 fans on Wednesday, that means the stadium could be nearly 2/3 full. That would be impressive even for a preseason game, but even better for a practice. So that's exciting to me. And the reason why I wanted to talk about this, man, is that if we are having that many people show up to a Raiders practice, that puts us in a position where it looks like the buy-in's starting to happen. It looks like our our home field advantage could be starting to click now that we have Antonio Pierce. Now that there's this whole buy-in with the culture. It looks like the fans are buying in too, right? And that's an amazing thing, because there's too many times where we have a home game at Allegiant Stadium and you look up in the stands and we're playing the Chiefs and it's all red, or whoever we're playing, we played against the Steelers and you just see a sea of them yellow terrible towels, man. And that's really awful to see that, because Vegas is a vacation spot, right? And so people are wanting to go see their team play, and they're like, well, let's go to Vegas, see our team play, and then we'll have vacation in Vegas, right? And so if we are being able to do this, not just for practice, but if it continues into the regular season, then all of a sudden we're going to have silver and black filling up the majority of the stadium. And if we can get that, we can actually get a true home field advantage at Allegiant Stadium. And that's going to be very important to establish, man. Um, who were you surprised standouts? Mine were Bernie, McCormick, and Glaze. You know, Sincere McCormick. Yeah, Sincere McCormick did pretty good. Now he was in there with third and fourth stringers, and he's just fighting for a roster spot. I like what I saw out of him. He was doing better, and I like how he looked. He looked confident. He looked quick. And then Amari Burney, man, Amari Burney is he's a late pick for us. And I think he's really starting to develop now that he's had some good time to kind of establish. And I think that Amari Burney is going to be one of those guys that sticks on this roster. I don't know that he'll end up in a starting role, but he's definitely a good rotational piece, and maybe he could continue to develop into that place. Delmar Glaze, man, he did pretty good. He didn't do so good when he did good on the right side. When he moved over to left tackle, he didn't look nearly as good. Some of the other players, man, Trayvon Merrick, in that first quarter, he looked number 7, man. At first I was like, who is that, man? Number 7. And I was like, oh yeah, Trayvon Merrick changed his number. He was looking really good. He was there on, almost every single play he'd pop up, and I really liked what I was seeing out of him. Jack Jones, of course, showed up. Surprise standouts. I would like to see Dylan Laube get some reps with some of the at least second team, because he went in with like third team, and that offensive line just wasn't cutting it, man. And so he wasn't really being able to get much going. He got that one good run. Let me think who else stood out to me. Amari Gaynor. Amari Gaynor looked good, man. I was really happy with what was going on there. As far as surprise, Trey Tucker, we got a lot of negative reports in camp about him, and he really showed up, man. He looked really good. He wasn't struggling with drops. He was coming down with some big plays. I really liked that. Let me think of who else. DJ Turner, man, DJ Turner. We did get some good reports out of camp about him. But, really, DJ Turner has just been like last year, he was just special teams, right? And he showed up really well in the special teams game, but he has not been playing receiver. And it was really cool to see him showing up as a receiver because it adds some extra depth, to have some good skill players lower on that depth. There was somebody else on the defense, man. I'm trying to think of Jacorian Bennett. I felt like he looked a lot better. Looked a lot more confident. I can't think of it right now, man. There was somebody else, and it'll come to me, man. It'll come to me. That practice should go live on the Raiders YouTube channel. They should, man. I don't see why not, man. That would be really cool. Daniel Carlson definitely was drafted by the Vikings, ended up getting cut by them. We picked him up, so I think that he had a little bit of a grudge going on there, and then he landed that 56-yarder. He was looking really good. He struggled a little bit with the kickoff, right? With the new kickoff rule, and there were some of those kicks that he would have liked to get back. But overall, man, Daniel Carlson and definitely AJ Cole, man, he was kicking some monster putts out there, man. That was insane. Defensive end Robinson. So Robinson, I don't remember him really popping up during the game. Sometimes though, like, in a live game, it's like sometimes I don't notice who it is that made the play. But Robinson, I'm surprised he even stayed on this roster after DUI, man. But, I'm hoping that he can kind of bounce back from it. I know that Nate Hobbs, was able to bounce back from his a couple years ago. So, after the whole Henry Ruggs thing, man, it's just a sketchy thing to have that kind of behavior going on at all in the locker room. But yeah, overall, I felt really good about like how Michael Mayer and Brock Bowers looked. Jacoby Myers, of course, showed out like how we knew that he would. And our offense, we didn't have Colton Miller, we didn't have Jackson Powers Johnson, we didn't have Devontae Adams, and I was still really happy with how that offense was looking. We were moving the ball down the field. We didn't have any turnovers. Um, there was a couple of those plays where I was really hoping that we were actually going to end up turning into a touchdown, which didn't. But that was okay. And a lot of people were talking trash, man, saying, "Well, JJ McCarthy, definitely made the defense look vanilla and stuff like that." And that's really not true, right? Because Jack Jones got that pick when he was playing against the first and second team offense, and then when the third and fourth team offense came in against JJ McCarthy, that's when all of a sudden he was getting these big throws and doing all this stuff, man. And that was like the main focus of everything that's being reported out, right? Is that, oh, JJ McCarthy actually, turned out against the Raiders. And, that's really not what I experienced with that, man. What I saw was him going against our guys that are just seeing if they can make the 53-man roster, right? And so he was what pick number 10 overall, I think. So I mean, I don't know, man. I'm not even tripping about all that. I don't like to listen to what all those reports say, man. Like if you look at how the Raiders are ranked, they're projected to like win 6 games, and really like those kind of projections, those analysts, what they're really looking at is the quarterback. How do these quarterbacks rank against each other? And so yeah, they're gonna rank us as only winning 6 games because there's this huge question mark at quarterback. Ian O'Connell, Gardner Minshew, right? But what they're not looking at is that if they look at the rest of our roster, we have a top 10 roster if you take quarterback out of the equation, right? So if these quarterbacks can just kind of game manage, don't make mistakes, don't no limit the 3-and-outs, limit the turnovers, then we shouldn't have a problem, right? As long as we continue to put some points on the board and we're not consistently scoring 17 points, right? Or losing 3-0 to the Vikings like last year. As long as we're consistently putting points on the board, I think our defense is going to be able to show up in fashion to where we're going to win games, man. Our young DBs had good and bad reps. Our O-line depth is iffy at best. And Tyree looks like that big kid on Pee Wee football who just lumbers around. And Tyree Wilson, man, I continue to be really upset about this pick, man, because um, I mean, I wanted to pick up Carter, man. Even though like there was all the speculation of his off the field issues and his work ethic and this and that, like we needed defensive tackle bad. And at the time we had Chandler Jones. So it was like, yeah, that's a no-brainer. He's on the board. We're up to pick. Let's go. And instead we passed on him and we picked up Tyree Wilson. And I had watched some tape on Tyree Wilson at that point, and I'd watched enough to already be upset right out the gate, right? But it was like I looked at more and more of his tape after the pickup, and it was like, all right, like maybe this is going to translate to NFL. He's long, he's powerful, and it's just not, man. He's consistently the last defensive lineman off the block, man. Like he's slow. He's not they talked about it during the offseason that he had worked on getting off the block on the snap, and that it just that it was looking so much better, and that's not what we saw on Saturday. So unless he's just kind of having an off day and shaking the rust off, we might see a lot of what we saw last year, and that's really upsetting for a number 7 overall pick. I would really like to see some production out of Tyree Wilson. I would love to be able to call him Tyree Dactyl, and for him to actually really make an impact on this defense. It's kind of looking more and more like the best position for him is on the inside, because he's just doing the bull rush and the bull rush and the bull rush, and it's not working on the outside. He needs to He needs to get these moves down better, man. Like Sanji T, he put out a breakdown of Christian Wilkins during the preseason game, right, against the Vikings, and he looked really good, man. You could see a lot of how he's getting off of the offensive lineman, how he's utilizing his arms and getting up and under and doing these moves to be able to break through, right? And if Tyree Wilson could step up his game in that fashion, I think that he'd really get to the quarterback a lot better. But if he's just going to continue with that bull rush, then move him to the inside and help collapse the pocket at least, right? If you're not going to get to the quarterback, at least collapse the pocket. That way, Malcolm Koonce and Max Crosby and these other guys on the outside can make plays. I felt like Malcolm Koonce also looked good, man. We didn't see a bunch of big sacks and all these things that I would love to see. I mean, also our first team defense to go out there and be trying way too hard in the preseason and end up getting hurt would really suck. So I definitely wouldn't like to see that. But it's, real live reps that are going to be important because I don't want them during the regular season to just be trying to get up to speed. Chris, salute, man, salute. Glad you made it, man. Glad you made it. Welcome. Um, you know, uh, I would have also liked to see more reps from just some of our newer players, right? Just like Christian Wilkins, I know he's already established vet, but really he only played one series, right, or one drive. And same with Max Crosby. Max Crosby talked about it in the presser today, where really he hasn't had a whole lot of preseason play, and as a rookie, he ended up breaking his hand in preseason, right? So what we don't want to see is our vets getting injured. But I really liked like um, 2 years ago when Josh Jacobs was like playing in the Hall of Fame game, right? And he knocked that rust off and he was out there and he ended up winning the rushing title that year, right? And it's good to get those real live NFL reps because yeah, you can get a lot out of OTAs and training camp and things like that, but it seems like when players actually play a decent amount in the preseason, they seem to do better from what I've seen. But also there's things like JJ McCarthy is now getting a knee surgery. So now he's going to miss. I mean, he'll be out until November at the best, but more than likely he's going to be out the entire season. Now that gives him a true opportunity to really develop and then go into next year and be the starter. And they're going to roll forward to Sam Darnold. But I mean, man, like I would hate to see some of our players just to go get some preseason reps and end up with those kind of injuries. See, some of those guys you see in the second half are most likely bubble players. Yeah, and that was, man, there was times during the watch party, man, where it was hard, dude. It was that first half I was hyped, we're having a good time, and then the second half it was like it's really hard for me to not just kind of get negative, because it was just like, okay, I know this is preseason, but this is hard to watch, man. Anthony Brown ain't it. They were running the ball down our throats. They were getting long passes on wide open receivers. Um, there was players like MJ Devonshire that were getting burned for touchdowns that I was really surprised about. I wasn't expecting to see that out of them. And so, I understand it's really important to get those reps in the preseason for these players because they're fighting for a roster spot. But then, like it's also really good for our coaches to be able to see them in real time. That way they can make determinations when it comes to this 53-man roster. I really thought our defense had camp legs plus travel to Cali than Minnesota. I'm thinking we're going to play a lot better versus Dallas. And, I really think it's going to be like that all the way through the entire game. We're going to be at home. They're going to be better rested. I think that they shook some of the rust off. And, yeah, I agree with you, Dave. I think that that's going to look a whole lot better, man. I agree. They were in a vanilla defense and offense. Raiders not going to show the playbook. Yeah, and and you're right about that, right? Because one of the things that I heard, and I don't know it to be fact, right? Like, I'm not a football expert. I'm just a Raiders fan, right? But like, what I heard was that they didn't go out with game plan, right? It's that they just go out in a simple zone defense and then just play, and see what happens. And so without like game planning and doing all those things that you would during the regular season, yeah, it's going to be a vanilla defense, right? And so JJ McCarthy's comment about the vanilla defense, I don't think he was really trying to talk shit about the Raiders. I think that it was just more of like knowing that that's what he's going up against and that he was going to get some of those third and fourth stringers and things like that. And so he was going to have an easier time with that than what he was camp. So I don't think that he actually meant any like shade by it, but it's also like one of those rookie mistakes, man, where you don't slip up and talk trash like that, especially against the Raiders. I was surprised that there's not rumors that it was a hit job. Yeah, Chris, I agree. Most teams play it that way, just low energy, in my opinion. They did look pretty low energy. I think that our first stringers, they didn't want to get hurt. Um, Tyree Wilson always looks low energy, so that was a hard determination there. Jack Jones did not look low energy at all. Jack Jones looked like he was pissed off about that vanilla comment, and he wanted to show out, and he did. Um, I noticed that Jack Jones looked like he was playing a lot harder when McCarthy came in than he was against Sam Darnold. So there was a couple of things like that. JJ knew he was going to get. He was talking madness. Yeah, man, definitely was, dude. Um, but yeah, man. I mean, overall, man. It's good to see some Raiders football actually happening again. I'm excited for this game against Dallas. It's a late night game, which really actually sucks for me because I have some friends that are getting married, and their wedding is from 5:30 to 10:30, and the game starts at 8 o'clock here. So I'm not sure what that looks like. I want to do a watch party. I don't know what what the schedule looks like. I don't know. You know, basically if everything's done and then they're just the majority of the wedding is done by that point. It's pretty close to home, so I'll probably come back and set up for the watch party. But there's a possibility that I might end up there too late. So I don't know if I'll be able to make a determination on that in advance. So if you're interested in joining the watch party, just keep an eye out during the game. Even if I'm not live when the game starts, I might jump in the second quarter or something like that and start it then, man. I would definitely like to be um, a little bit more consistent, man. But it's a friend's wedding, and it just I got to show up for it. I got to show up, and it's preseason, so it is what it is. But I definitely really want to do the watch parties as much as possible throughout the season. Um, last I checked, man, 26 subscribers away from 500. The goal is to get to 500 before the start of the regular season. Shout out to all you guys that have been rocking with me. Share this out to your friends. Encourage people, tell them, hey, it's free because I think that there's some people out there that think, oh, I'm gonna have to pay a fee to subscribe and things like that. And no, it's completely free. And if my videos get suggested to you, it's probably not gonna have a negative effect on you, but it's probably gonna have a positive effect on me. So definitely get that out there, man. um let's talk about Chris. Bring your tab. Most likely won't make any of those. I'm missing it, man. Too caught up. So yeah, that's really all I had for today. I wanted to get on and talk a little bit about the game. You know, my big takeaways from Saturday's game is that we don't know what we're doing at quarterback yet. Both of them looked good. Antonio Pierce did say that he's looking to make a determination after the game against the Cowboys. So really, Um, he's putting a time limit on it now, right? Um, oh, okay, bring it to the wedding. That way I could just go ahead and do it from there. That's hilarious, man. Um, yeah, man. So we're in a weird position because it would be nice to have a clear cut starter, but also because they're not playing awful, I think it's a good thing because no matter who our starter is, if that person gets injured and we have to bring in QB2, we're not going to see a huge slump in the offense, right? Typically, if your starter goes down and your backup comes in, all of a sudden it's like, oh man, now we're going to have a losing season, right? Um, both these quarterbacks have proven that they can win games, right? And so I think that is one of the silver linings of the situation, silver and black linings. Um, Another takeaway is that our receivers looked great, right? Jacoby Myers, Brock Bowers, Michael Mayer. I'm including the tight ends. Trey Tucker, DJ Turner, all looked really good, right? I'm really happy with how that room is looking. Our offensive line lacks depth, right? And that's very apparent that without Colton Miller out there and without Jackson Powers Johnson out there, we're going to struggle. But more than that, if anybody else goes down, we don't have really good depth pieces to put in because when we got to the third and fourth quarters, that offensive line looked terrible. Another takeaway is we didn't see too much out of our running game, right? And part of that is that we're missing some of our offensive line. But another part of that is I think that they wanted to focus a lot more on the quarterbacks and being able to make a determination there. Part of it, though, is Antonio Pierce did say that, he would have liked to get the running game going more. Um, but, we could have Jimmy G and Brian Hoyer as backup, and that was terrible. So our quarterback room definitely looks better than it did last year, and I am pumped about that. Aiden O'Connell and Uncle Rico a lot better for sure. And we have Peterman now. That's right. That is right. Um, Another takeaway, man, is that our defensive line. Um, I felt like everybody looks good. I saw some good tape breakdowns so far, except for Tyree Wilson. Tyree Wilson is not looking very good, and I really hope that he can step it up because we've been struggling with those first round picks for years, man. And I don't want him to fall into that category. I really want him to step his game up and be like one of those guys that's like, see, I'm glad we got him, and instead of being like, man, like what another bust. Our defensive backs are showing up, man. They came to play, and uh, and I think that it's going to be exciting this season. And then our linebackers, man, we have good linebackers, man. We don't have top tier linebackers, but we have good linebackers. I'm really happy with that. And our special teams, like always, is very good. I don't want them to have to play that much. Dalton Wagner did suck, you know. Just it was what it was, right? So that's all I got for today, guys. I'm looking at going live. We got somebody new in the building, so I'm gonna say what's up, real quick. KHSG 1986. Glad you make it. If you have not yet, please hit that subscribe. We're trying to get to 500 subscribers before the regular season. Sorry that you jumped in at the end, but I try to go live every Tuesday and every Friday, and then I will be doing watch parties during the game. So during the game, look me up, try to find me. I should be on. Diablo did play pretty well. Definitely happy with how he's looking. Definitely in coverage. There's that one play in the end zone where he spotted it. He spotted the route and he ran with Addison, and he disrupted that whole play. Quarterback had to go to a different read and ended up getting broken up in the end zone, and so Diablo was looking good in coverage. I like to see that. I hope that he's stepping it up with tackles a little bit better. But yeah, really, that's all I got for tonight, guys. I look forward to seeing you. I should be live on Friday, and then, like I said, I'm going to be at a wedding during the Cowboys game, but I do plan on trying to do a watch party, even if I jump in late. So keep an eye out for me. Like always, I love you, nation. I'll see you on the next one.